Commander Vexhar stood in front of the massive screen aboard the research ship, Nexus Prime. The blue glow from the display lit up his gray, scaly face as he looked at the latest reports. His 4 eyes moved across the data, checking each number. Twice, the Galactic Confederation had just finished studying a new species from a small planet called Earth. Humans, he said to himself, reading the name out loud. The report was clear. These creatures had basic space travel. They had simple weapons. Their technology was about 200 years behind most civilized species. According to all the tests and measurements, they were a moderate threat at best. Vexhar pressed a button on his desk. The classification appeared on the screen in bright letters. Moderate threat level 3.2. It was an average rating. Not dangerous enough to worry about. Not advanced enough to be useful partners. Just another species that would need protection and guidance from the Confederation. He sent the report to the main office. In a few days, the humans would receive their first official contact. They would be offered a place in the galaxy as junior members. They would get some technology, some trade rights, and a safe place to live. In return, they would follow Confederation rules and stay in their assigned area. Vexhar had done this same process hundreds of times before. Most new species were happy to accept the deal. A few tried to argue, but they usually came around when they saw how big and powerful the Confederation was. The humans would be no different. 2 days later, Captain Jake Martinez sat in his command chair aboard the Liberty Dawn. The ship was humanity's pride and joy, built with the best technology Earth could manage. Compared to the alien ships he had heard about, it was probably like a wooden boat next to a submarine. But it was theirs, and Jake was proud of it. "Captain," called out Lieutenant Kelly Wright from the communication station. "We're getting a signal. It's not from Earth." Jake felt his heart speed up. This was it. First contact with alien life. Every human had dreamed about this moment for hundreds of years. He straightened his uniform and nodded. "Put it through." The main screen flickered, and suddenly Jake was looking at the strangest face he had ever seen. The creature had gray skin, 4 eyes, and a mouth that looked like it could bite through steel. But when it spoke, the voice was calm and polite. "Greetings, humans of Earth," the alien said. "I am Commander Vexhar of the Galactic Confederation. We welcome you to the community of space-traveling species." Jake stood up from his chair. This was the most important conversation in human history. "Commander Vexhar, I'm Captain Jake Martinez. On behalf of humanity, we're honored to meet you." "The honor is ours," Vexhar replied, though his tone suggested he was just being polite. "We have studied your species and your planet. You show great promise. The Confederation would like to offer you membership as a protected junior species." The words hit Jake like a punch to the gut. Protected? Junior? He kept his face calm, but inside he was starting to get angry. What exactly does that mean? Vexhar's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. "It means you will be given safe territory, too. Live in. You will receive basic technology to help you grow. In return, you will follow Confederation law and stay within your assigned boundaries. It is a generous offer for a species of your threat level." "Our threat level?" Jake asked. "Moderate. Threat level 3.2, Vexhar said, as if reading from a report. "Your weapons are simple. Your ships are slow. Your technology is limited. You need our protection to survive in the galaxy." Jake wanted to argue, but he knew the alien was probably right about their technology. Earth's best ships were like toys compared to what these aliens could build. Still, something about the way Vexhar talked bothered him. It was like he was speaking to a child. "We appreciate the offer," Jake said carefully. "We'll need to discuss it with our leaders on Earth." "Of course," Vexhar replied. "Take your time. We will send you the details of your assigned territory. It is called Mining Sector 7. Many other species of your level live there. You will find good neighbors and safe work." The screen went dark, and Jake stared at it for a long moment. Lieutenant Wright looked at him with concern. "Captain, are you all right?" Jake shook his head. "Kelly, send a message to Earth Command. Tell them we need to talk. Fast." Back on Earth, Dr. Lisa Hayes sat in her office at the Institute for Xenopsychology. She had been studying alien behavior for years, even though no one had ever seen a real alien before today. Now she was watching the recording of Jake's conversation with Commander Vex Har for the 5th time. Something was wrong. The alien seemed friendly enough, but there was something in his voice that worried her. He talked about humans the way a zookeeper might talk about animals. Polite, but not really respectful. Lisa pulled up her notes on threat assessment psychology. Most species probably judged others based on technology and weapons. That made sense. But humans were different in ways that might not show up on those kinds of tests. She thought about human history. Humans had always been good at finding new ways to solve problems. They adapted quickly to new situations. They worked together when they needed to. They never gave up, even when things looked impossible. None of those traits would show up on a technology scan. The aliens might be making a big mistake. Lisa picked up her phone and called General Patricia Adams. "General, we need to talk about these aliens. I think they don't understand us as well as they think they do." Meanwhile, on the other side of the galaxy, Commander Alex Stone was preparing for humanity's first colonization mission. His team of 50 humans would travel to Mining Sector 7 and start building humanity's first home among the stars. Alex looked at the files the aliens had sent about their new territory. Mining Sector 7 was described as a quiet, safe area, perfect for a new species that needed time to learn and grow. The sector had 3 planets with good resources and several other alien species that were friendly and peaceful. There was also something called the Monument. The files said it was an old alien structure that no one had been able to figure out. Previous species had tried to activate it for over 200 years, but it never worked. The Confederation had given up on it and now just used it as a landmark. Alex wondered what the monument looked like. He had always been curious about old things that didn't work. Maybe the human team could take a look at it when they arrived. It might be interesting. Engineer Katie Brooks was packing her tools for the mission. She specialized in fixing things that other people said couldn't be fixed. Her friends always joked that she could make a broken spaceship fly using spare parts and determination. Katie had read about the monument too. The alien reports said it was built by a species that died out long ago. Every species that tried to activate it had failed. They tried advanced computers, powerful energy sources, and complex algorithms. Nothing worked. Katie smiled as she packed her favorite wrench. Maybe those other species had been trying too hard. Sometimes the best way to fix something was to keep it simple. As the Liberty Dawn prepared to leave from Mining Sector 7, Jake looked back at Earth one last time. The blue planet hung in space like a jewel, beautiful and small. Soon, humans would be living on alien worlds, working alongside alien species, and trying to find their place in a galaxy that seemed to think they weren't very important. Jake had a feeling the aliens were about to learn something new about humans, something their threat assessment had missed completely. 3 weeks later, Katie Brooks stood in front of the monument for the first time. It was bigger than she had expected. The structure rose from the ground like a metal mountain, covered in patterns that seemed to shift and change when she wasn't looking directly at them. Other humans gathered around her, all staring up at the strange alien creation. "It's beautiful," whispered Dr. Ryan Clark, the team's physicist. He pulled out his scanner and pointed it at the monument. "The energy readings are incredible." "There's Definitely something active inside, but I can't figure out what it's supposed to do. Katie walked closer to the base of the structure. The metal felt warm under her hand, almost like it was alive. She noticed small indentations in the surface, about the size of human hands. "Ryan, come look at this." Ryan hurried over and examined the indentations. The other species probably tried putting their appendages here. "Look, you can see wear marks from different types of alien hands." He pointed to scratch marks and smooth spots where claws and tentacles had touched the metal. But none of them worked, Katie said. She looked at her own hand, then at the indentation. It was close to the right size, but not perfect. Maybe that's the problem. Everyone's been trying to force their way in. Commander Alex Stone approached them. "Any luck figuring it out?" Katie shook her head. "Not yet. But I have an idea." "Ryan, what if this thing isn't meant to be activated by technology? What if it needs something else? Like what?" Ryan asked. Katie placed her hand in one of the indentations. It fit better than she expected, but still not perfectly. What if it needs to be adapted first? What if the original builders made it so it could learn from whoever was trying to use it? She pressed her hand firmly against the metal and waited. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the metal began to warm up. The indentation slowly changed shape, molding itself around Katie's fingers until it fit perfectly. Ryan's scanner started, beeping frantically. "Katie, the energy readings just jumped by 300%. All around the monument, lights began to flicker on. Patterns moved across the surface like water flowing uphill. A low humming sound filled the air, growing stronger by the second. Everyone stepped back. Alex shouted, but Katie stayed where she was. "It's okay," she said. "It's not dangerous. It's curious. I think it's trying to understand what I am." The humming changed pitch, becoming almost musical. More indentations appeared on the monument's surface, each one sized perfectly for human hands. Katie looked at her team with excitement in her eyes. "We need more people. I think it wants all of us to connect at once." One by one, the other humans placed their hands on the monument. Each time someone new joined, the lights grew brighter and the humming grew more complex. When the last person connected, the monument suddenly went silent. Then it spoke, not with words, but with images that appeared directly in their minds. They saw the monument's builders, a species that looked remarkably similar to humans. They saw how the monument was supposed to work, not as a machine to be operated, but as a partner to be understood. The images showed a vast network connecting thousands of worlds. The monument was just one node in a galaxy-spanning communication system. But it had been dormant for centuries, because no one had approached it the right way. Katie felt tears in her eyes. "They were like us," she whispered. "The builders. They solved problems by working together, by adapting, by trying new things, just like humans do." The monument pulsed with warm light, as if agreeing with her. 2 months later, Mining Sector 7 had become the busiest place in the local region. What should have been a simple resource extraction operation had turned into something much bigger. The humans hadn't just activated the monument. They had figured out how to use it to improve everything else they touched. Dr. Sam Johnson wiped sweat from his forehead as he examined the latest crop yields. The farming domes were producing 4 times more food than the original projections. The secret wasn't better technology or alien knowledge. It was understanding. The previous colonists tried to force Earth plants to grow in alien soil. Sam explained to a group of visiting Zephyrians, the crystalline species that lived on the next planet over. But we looked at what was already here first. We found out what the local bacteria needed, what the soil was missing, and how the native ecosystem worked. Then we adapted our plants to work with the environment instead of against it. The Zephyrians hummed in appreciation. Their own farming efforts had been struggling for decades. Could you teach us this method? Asked their leader, a tall crystal being whose voice sounded like wind chimes. Of course, Sam said with a smile. That's what neighbors are for. Meanwhile, in the mining operations, engineer Tony Martinez had revolutionized the entire process. The previous species had used massive machines to blast through rock and extract minerals. It was loud, expensive, and wasteful. Tony had taken a different approach. He studied how water carved through stone over time. He looked at how certain bacteria could eat through metal. He watched how plants could break apart concrete with their roots. Instead of fighting the rock, Tony learned to work with it. His team used a combination of controlled chemical reactions, bacterial processing, and precision tools to extract minerals with almost no waste. The operation was quiet, efficient, and produced higher quality materials than anyone had seen before. The gaseous Nethians who lived in the asteroid belt were amazed. They had been mining for thousands of years and never thought to approach it from a biological angle. Within weeks, they were asking the humans to consult on their own operations. Captain Jake Martinez received reports from the colony every day, each one more impressive than the last. But the most surprising news came from Dr. Ryan Clark's work with the monument. "Jake, you need to see this," Ryan said over the communication link. His face on the screen was excited and slightly scared. The monument isn't just a communication device. It's a learning system, and it's been teaching us things. What kind of things? Jake asked. Physics that shouldn't exist. Mathematics that solve problems we didn't even know we had. And Jake, it's been sending and receiving messages from other worlds. Lots of other worlds. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. Other Confederation worlds? Some of them, but not all. Jake, I think there are species out there that the Confederation doesn't know about, or doesn't want to know about. The monument has been trying to contact them for centuries. Back on the Confederation flagship, Commander Vexhar stared at the reports from Mining Sector 7 with growing confusion. The numbers didn't make sense. Humans were supposed to be a moderate threat species. They were supposed to need guidance and protection. Instead, they were outperforming species that had been in the Confederation for thousands of years. Their mining operations were more efficient than anything on record. Their farming produced impossible yields. Other species in the sector were asking humans for advice on problems they had struggled with for generations. "Sir," said his assistant, "a nervous creature with too many tentacles. We're receiving requests from 17 different species asking for human consultation teams. The Sector 7 productivity reports show increases of 400% across all operations." Vexhar's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of deep stress. "That's impossible. Our assessment was thorough. Humans are moderate threat level. 3.2. They can't possibly be achieving these results. Perhaps we should send an inspection team?" The assistant suggested. Vexhar considered this. An inspection would determine exactly what the humans were doing. It would also send a message that the Confederation was watching them carefully. Maybe too carefully. Not yet, he decided. Continue monitoring. And ... upgrade the human threat assessment to level 4.1. The assistant's tentacles writhed with surprise. "Sir, that's still within moderate threat parameters, but it's close to the concerning threshold." "I know," Vexhar said quietly. He looked at the reports again, particularly the ones about the monument. No species had been able to activate that structure for over 2 centuries. The fact that humans had succeeded in just a few weeks was troubling. More troubling was the fact that they had done it through cooperation and adaptation rather than superior technology. Those were traits that didn't show up on standard threat assessments. Traits that might be more dangerous than weapons or warships on Earth. Dr. Lisa Hayes continued her analysis of Confederation behavior patterns. She had been right about the aliens underestimating humanity. But now she was starting to worry about what would happen when they realized their mistake. "General Adams," she said into her secure phone, "we need to accelerate our defense preparations. The aliens are going to figure out that they made an error in judgment. When they do, they might not be happy about it." General Patricia Adams had been expecting this call. "How much time do we have?" "Maybe months, maybe weeks." "But General, I don't think they'll attack us directly. That's not how the Confederation works. They'll probably try to contain us, limit our movement, control our development. And if we refuse?" Lisa was quiet for a long moment. "Then we'll find out just how moderate a threat they really think we are." In Mining Sector 7, Katie Brooks stood before the monument as the sun set behind the alien mountains. The structure pulsed with gentle light, processing communications from across the galaxy. She had been monitoring. Admiral Kethmer was not having a good day. The massive alien stood 12 feet tall, with thick armor plating and 4 powerful arms. His species, the Votheri, had been the military backbone of the Confederation for over 3,000 years. Very few things in the galaxy scared him. The report in his hands was one of those things. "Explain this to me again," he growled at Commander Vexhar, who stood nervously before the Admiral's desk. "How does a moderate threat species activate? Ancient technology that hasn't worked for 2 centuries? Vexhar's 4 eyes darted around the room. "Sir, our initial assessment may have been incomplete. The humans seem to have capabilities that don't show up on standard threat evaluation protocols." "What kind of capabilities?" Kethmer demanded. "Adaptive problem-solving, sir. Intuitive. Technology interface. And something our analysts are calling collaborative enhancement." Vexhar paused. "When humans work together, they seem to become more effective than the sum of their individual abilities." Kethmer threw the report down on his desk. "That's impossible. No species can exceed standard mathematical models of group efficiency." "The data suggests otherwise, sir. The humans in Mining Sector 7 have achieved productivity levels that should require technology centuries ahead of what they possess. And other species are starting to ask questions." This was what Kethmer had been afraid of. The Confederation's power came from order and predictability. Species stayed in their assigned roles. They followed established protocols. They didn't exceed their classifications. "What kind of questions?" he asked. "The Zephyrians want to know why they weren't taught human farming techniques. The Nethians are asking why human mining methods weren't shared with them years ago. The Deltans are requesting permission to relocate to Mining Sector 7 to learn from the humans directly." Kethmer felt one of his stress headaches beginning. The Deltans were a proud species that had been in the Confederation for 800 years. If they were asking to learn from newcomers, it meant the humans' reputation was spreading far beyond their assigned sector. "Sir," Vexhar continued, carefully, "there's something else. The humans have been receiving communications through the monument. Our monitoring stations detected transmissions to and from worlds that are not in Confederation space." "Unknown species?" Kethmer asked. "Not unknown, sir. Relocated species. Species that were removed from general population when they exceeded their threat assessments." The Admiral's 4 hands clenched into fists. This was much worse than he had thought. If the humans were communicating with relocated species, they might learn about Confederation containment protocols. They might start asking questions that no one wanted to answer. "How long before we can complete a revised threat assessment?" he asked. "Standard protocol requires documentation from 3 separate analysis teams, approval from the Species Classification Board, and final review by the High Council," Vexhar recited. "The process typically takes 18 to 36 months. We don't have that long," Kethmer decided. Prepare an inspection fleet. Full military escort. We're going to Mining Sector 7 to conduct an emergency evaluation. Sir, what should I tell the humans about the purpose of our visit? Tell them it's routine. Tell them we're proud of their success and want to celebrate it. Kethmar's eyes glowed with dangerous light. What we actually do when we get there will depend on what we find. On Earth, General Patricia Adams stood in the war room beneath Pentagon headquarters. The walls were covered with star charts, communication logs, and threat assessments. For the past 6 months, she had been preparing for exactly this moment. Colonel Foster, what's the status of our defensive preparations? She asked. Colonel Ben Foster pointed to a display showing Earth's orbital defenses. All installations are online and ready. We've been careful to make them look like civilian infrastructure. Communication arrays, weather satellites, research stations. The aliens won't know they're weapons until we activate them. What about the fleet? 18 ships ready for combat, disguised as cargo vessels and exploration ships. Captain Martinez is already in position with the Liberty Dawn. The rest are scattered throughout the system, maintaining normal traffic patterns. Patricia nodded. It wasn't much compared to what the aliens could bring, but it might be enough to make them think twice about attacking Earth directly. Any word from our people in Mining Sector 7? Commander Stone reports unusual alien activity. Long range. Sensors, increased patrols, communication monitoring. Something has the Confederation nervous. Good, Patricia said grimly. Nervous aliens make mistakes. And we're very good at taking advantage of mistakes. Meanwhile, Dr. Lisa Hayes was working around the clock in her laboratory. She had been analyzing every piece of Confederation communication they had intercepted, looking for patterns in their behavior. What she found terrified her. The Confederation has done this before, she explained to Patricia over a secure video link. Multiple times. When a species exceeds its threat classification, they're invited to accept enhanced integration protocols. If they refuse, they disappear. Disappear how? Patricia asked. Their homeworlds are quarantined. Their colonies are relocated to restricted zones. Officially, it's for their own protection and the safety of other species. Unofficially, it's permanent imprisonment. Patricia felt cold anger rising in her chest. How many species? At least 47 that I can identify from the records. Probably more. The Confederation has been controlling galactic civilization for thousands of years by making sure no one gets strong enough to challenge them. Except they made a mistake. With us. Yes, Lisa agreed. They classified us as moderate threat because they only looked at our technology. They didn't understand that human strength doesn't come from our weapons or our ships. It comes from our ability to adapt, to cooperate, and to never give up. In Mining Sector 7, Katie Brooks received an urgent message through the Monument's communication network. It came from a world called Haven, located in what the Confederation called the Restricted Zone. The message was from a species called the Cathara, who had been relocated there 50 years ago. Their crime had been developing faster than light. Communication that was more efficient than Confederation technology. They had been too dangerous to remain free. Human friends, the message read, we have monitored your success with great interest. Your situation parallels our own history. We must warn you, the Confederation fleet approaches your sector. They come not to celebrate, but to evaluate. If you exceed their acceptable parameters, you will join us in exile. Katie shared the message. With Dr. Ryan Clark and Commander Alex Stone, the three of them stood before the monument as its lights pulsed with incoming data from across the galaxy. How many species are in the restricted zone? Alex asked. Ryan consulted his records. According to the monument's database, at least 60 different civilizations, all classified as relocated for safety reasons. That's not safety. Katie said angrily. That's imprisonment. They're keeping anyone who might threaten their control locked away from the rest of the galaxy. The question is, Alex said, what do we do about it? Katie placed her hand on the monument, feeling its vast network of connections. We let them know they're not alone anymore, and we prepare to defend ourselves. She sent out a message to every species in the restricted zone, every moderate threat civilization, and every world that had ever questioned Confederation authority. The message was simple. Humanity stands with you. We will not go quietly into exile, and we will not let them silence the galaxy any longer. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Hundreds of worlds replied with offers of support, shared technology, and promises of cooperation. For the first time in thousands of years, the scattered species of the galaxy were beginning to unite, but the Confederation was already moving. To stop them, Admiral Kethmer's fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Mining Sector 7. 50 warships, each one capable of destroying a planet, arranged themselves in perfect formation. It was meant to be an impressive display of power. Captain Jake Martinez watched the alien fleet approach on his scanner screen. The Liberty Dawn was just one small ship compared to the massive Confederation vessels, but Jake wasn't afraid. He had been preparing for this moment for months. Open a communication channel, he told Lieutenant Kelly Wright. Channel open, sir. Admiral Kethmer, Jake said politely. Welcome to Mining Sector 7. We're honored by your visit. The alien's face appeared on the main screen, looking surprised by Jake's calm tone. Captain Martinez, we have come to conduct a routine inspection of your operations. We hope you will cooperate fully. Of course, Jake replied. We're very proud of what we've accomplished here. We'd love to show you everything. Kethmer frowned. This wasn't the reaction he had expected. Guilty species usually showed fear or defiance. Jake seemed genuinely pleased to see them. We will begin our inspection immediately, Kethmer announced. Absolutely, Jake agreed. But Admiral, might I suggest starting with the monument? It's really quite remarkable what we've learned from it. For the first time in his military career, Admiral Kethmer felt uncertain. The human was acting like he had nothing to hide, like he wanted the Confederation to see what they had discovered. Either Jake Martinez was the best actor in the galaxy or humanity W. Admiral Kethmer expected to find struggling colonists barely managing to survive on an alien world. Instead, his shuttle landed at what looked like a thriving city. Clean buildings rose from the landscape in harmony with the natural environment. Gardens bloomed between structures that seemed to grow from the ground itself. The air smelled fresh and clean, not like the industrial pollution he was used to on Confederation worlds. Captain Jake Martinez waited at the landing pad with a welcoming smile. Behind him stood representatives from several species: crystalline, Zephyrians, gaseous Nethians, and others that Kethmer didn't recognize. They all seemed relaxed and happy, not like species living under human dominance. Admiral, Jake said with genuine warmth, welcome to New Harmony. That's what we've been calling our settlement. Would you like a tour? Kethmer stepped off his shuttle, followed by a team of military analysts and scientists. His 4 arms remained ready for trouble, but the peaceful atmosphere made him feel foolish for being so cautious. This is unexpected, he admitted, looking around at the bustling community. Jake laughed. We get that a lot. Commander Stone is waiting at the monument to show you our main discovery. But first, would you like to see how we've improved the mining operations? They walked through the settlement, and Kethmer's confusion grew with each step. The mining facilities were 3 times more efficient than anything in Confederation records. The farms produced impossible yields. The manufacturing centers created materials that should have required technology centuries beyond human capability. How? Kethmer asked, stopping at a facility where humans and aliens worked side by side. Engineer Tony Martinez, Jake's cousin, overheard the question. We stopped trying to force our way through problems and started listening to what the environment was telling us, he explained. Like this mining operation, instead of blasting through rock, we use a combination of bacterial breakdown, controlled chemical reactions, and precision extraction. The rock tells us where the minerals are, and we follow its lead. A Zephyrian worker added her crystalline voice to the explanation. Humans taught us to work with natural systems instead of against them. Our own mining operations have improved by 600% since we started using their methods. Kethmer's head was starting to hurt. None of this matched what he knew about moderate threat species. Captain Martinez, we need to discuss your threat classification. Of course, Jake agreed. But first, you really should see the monument. Dr. Clark and Engineer Brooks have made some remarkable discoveries. They traveled to the monument in electric vehicles that moved silently through the landscape. Kethmer noticed that the local wildlife didn't flee from the human settlement. Instead, curious animals watched from a safe distance, and colorful birds perched on the buildings. The previous colonists had constant problems with the local fauna, Jake explained, noticing the Admiral's attention. But we found that if you respect their territory and provide what they need, they leave you alone. Some of them have even become helpful. Those purple birds warn us about weather changes, and the fox-like creatures keep harmful insects away from our crops. The monument rose before them like a living mountain of light. Patterns flowed across its surface in mesmerizing waves, and a harmonious humming filled the air. Dr. Ryan Clark and Engineer Katie Brooks waited at its base, there, hands resting on the monument's interface panels. Admiral Kethmer, Katie said with a bright smile, we've been looking forward to meeting you. We have so much to show you. Ryan gestured to the active monument. Sir, this structure isn't just a communication device. It's a learning network that spans the entire galaxy. The original builders created it to share knowledge and foster cooperation between species. Kethmer felt a chill of fear. What kind of knowledge? Everything, Katie replied. Scientific discoveries, cultural insights, technological innovations, agricultural techniques. For centuries, it's been trying to help species grow and develop. But most civilizations were too focused on following established protocols to listen to what it was offering. We were different, Ryan continued. Humans approach problems by asking, what if, instead of following what is? We adapted to work with the monument instead of trying to control it. Kethmer's worst fears were being confirmed. Show me, he demanded. Katie placed her hands on the monument's interface. Immediately, the structure came alive with brilliant light. Images flowed through the air around them. Star maps showing thousands of connected worlds, scientific formulas that solved previously impossible problems, and historical records of civilizations that had risen and fallen across the galaxy. The monument's been trying to teach these lessons for millennia, Katie explained. But species kept approaching it with the assumption that technology should dominate nature. Humans realized that the best solutions come from cooperation and harmony. Admiral Kethmer watched the display with growing horror. The humans hadn't just exceeded their threat classification. They had accessed knowledge that could transform galactic civilization. Knowledge that the Confederation had spent thousands of years suppressing. Captain Martinez, he said slowly, I need to speak with you privately. They moved away from the monument to a quiet area overlooking the settlement. Kethmer's forearms gestured toward the thriving community below. This cannot continue, he said bluntly. Jake's friendly expression didn't change. I'm sorry. What can't continue? Your species has exceeded acceptable parameters. Your threat level requires immediate reclassification. The Confederation Council We'll need to implement enhanced integration protocols. What does that mean? Jake asked, though his calm tone suggested he already knew. It means humanity will be relocated to a restricted zone for your own safety and the stability of galactic civilization, Kethmer explained. You will be provided with comfortable living conditions and allowed to develop at a controlled pace. Jake was quiet for a long moment, looking out over the settlement where humans and aliens work together in harmony. And if we refuse? Then you will be classified as a critical threat, and appropriate measures will be taken. Jake turned to face the Admiral directly. You mean you'll destroy us? Kethmer's expression hardened. The Confederation has maintained galactic peace for 5,000 years. We cannot allow destabilizing influences to threaten that peace. Peace, Jake repeated. Is that what you call it when you imprison entire species for learning too much? When you relocate civilizations for asking too many questions? When you suppress knowledge that could help everyone in the galaxy? The Admiral's 4 eyes widened. How do you know about the relocations? Jake smiled sadly. Because we listened to what the monument was telling us. We learned about the Cathara, the Volantis, the Etherians, and dozens of other species that were too creative, too adaptable, or too successful for your comfort. We know about the restricted zone. We know about the real purpose of your threat. Classifications. Kethmer felt panic rising in his chest. If humanity knew about the Confederation's containment protocols, they were far more dangerous than any previous assessment had indicated. You have 2 days to make your decision, he announced. Accept relocation, or face the consequences. As the Admiral returned to his shuttle, Jake activated his communicator. Dr. Hayes, this is Captain Martinez. The Admiral just delivered our ultimatum. 2 days. On Earth, Dr. Lisa Hayes had been monitoring the situation through encrypted communications. Understood, Jake. General Adams is already implementing our response protocols. What about the other species? The ones in the restricted zone? They're ready, Lisa confirmed. Admiral Kethmer thinks he's dealing with one moderate threat species. He has no idea he's about to face a galactic uprising. Back at the monument, Katie Brooks sent out a final message through the ancient network. It reached every world that had ever questioned Confederation authority, every species that had been suppressed or relocated, every civilization that dreamed of something better than endless subjugation. The message was simple. Tomorrow, humanity makes its choice. We choose freedom. We choose cooperation. We choose a galaxy where knowledge is shared instead of hoarded, where species are encouraged to grow instead of contained, and where the future belongs to all of us together. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Across the galaxy, long silent worlds began powering up ancient defenses. Species that had been hiding their true capabilities for centuries started revealing technologies the Confederation had never imagined. The monument network buzzed with activity as thousands of civilizations coordinated their response. Admiral Kethmer returned to his flagship with a sense of impending doom. What he had seen at the human settlement challenged everything he believed about galactic order. Worse, he suspected that humanity's influence had already spread far beyond Mining Sector 7. Sir, reported his communications officer, we're detecting unusual activity throughout the sector. Long-range transmissions, energy spikes, and movement from worlds that have been dormant for decades. How many worlds? Kethmer asked. At least 30 in this sector alone, sir. And sir, we're receiving similar reports from sectors across the galaxy. Kethmer realized with dawning horror that humanity hadn't just exceeded their threat classification. They had become a catalyst for something much larger. Admiral Kethmer stood on the bridge of his flagship as the deadline approached. His fleet of 50 warships hung in space around Mining Sector 7, weapons powered and ready. According to all military doctrine, this should be simple. One moderate. Threat species against the might of the Confederation. The humans should surrender without a fight, but the Admiral's 4 hands trembled as he watched his sensor readings. Energy signatures were appearing across the sector from worlds that had been quiet for decades. His communications officer was reporting strange transmissions from hundreds of star systems. Something was very wrong. "Sir," called his tactical officer, "the human captain is requesting to speak with you." "Put him through," Kethmer ordered Captain. Jake Martinez appeared on the main screen, standing in what looked like the monument chamber. Behind him, the ancient structure pulsed with brilliant light, and representatives from dozens of species could be seen working at various stations. "Admiral," Jake said with his usual calm smile, "I hope you slept well. Today is going to be a big day." "Captain Martinez," Kethner replied formally, "you have 1 hour to give me your decision. Will humanity accept relocation to the restricted zone, or must we take more direct action?" Jake tilted his head thoughtfully. "Admiral, can I ask you something first? In all your years of military service, how many species have you relocated?" "That information is classified." 47, Jake continued as if Kethmer hadn't spoken. 47 civilizations that were relocated because they grew too fast, learned too much, or asked too many questions. The Kithara for developing better communication technology. The Volantis for creating more efficient energy systems. The Etherians for discovering new forms of mathematics. Kethmer felt ice forming in his stomach. "How do you know those names?" "Because we talked to them." Jake replied simply, "All of them. They're still alive, Admiral. Still thinking, still creating, still dreaming of freedom. You didn't destroy them. You just hid them away where they couldn't inconvenience you." "Those species were dangerous," Kethmer protested. "Their rapid development threatened galactic stability." Jake's expression became sad. "Admiral, do you really believe that? Or are you just saying what you've been taught to say for so long that you forgot to question it?" Before Kethmer could answer, Jake continued, "Let me tell you what we've learned from the monument. 5,000 years ago, the galaxy was full of creativity and innovation. Species shared knowledge freely. They collaborated on projects that benefited everyone. Science and art flourished like never before. Images began appearing on the bridge's displays, transmitted directly from the monument. They showed ancient civilizations working together, creating wonders that dwarfed anything in the modern galaxy. Then the Confederation formed," Jake said, "not to promote peace, but to maintain control. They convinced everyone that rapid change was dangerous. That innovation needed to be regulated. That some species were too primitive for advanced knowledge, while others were too advanced for their own good. The Confederation has prevented countless wars," Kethmer argued, but his voice lacked conviction. "Has it?" Jake asked. "Or has it just prevented the kind of growth that would have made wars obsolete? Admiral, when was the last time you saw something truly new? When did any species in Confederation space last make a breakthrough discovery? When did anyone create something that changed how the galaxy thinks about itself?" Kethmer realized with shock that he couldn't answer those questions. For his entire life, the galaxy had been essentially the same. Stable, predictable, static. "Change is dangerous," he said weakly. "Change is life," Jake replied. "Admiral, I want to show you something. Katie, bring up the sector-wide display." The screen shifted to show Mining Sector 7 and the surrounding regions. Dozens of worlds were glowing with activity. Energy readings spiked across hundreds of systems. The monument network was pulsing with data streams that connected thousands of planets. "This is what the galaxy looks like when species are allowed to reach their full potential," Jake explained. "In the past 2 days, we've solved agricultural problems that have plagued entire sectors for centuries. We've developed new technologies that could revolutionize space travel. We've created art and music that celebrates the diversity of galactic civilization. Sir, Kethmer's communications officer interrupted urgently. We're receiving reports from across the galaxy. Restricted zone worlds are powering up defensive systems. Species throughout Confederation space are refusing to follow containment protocols. And Sir ... we're detecting massive energy buildups around multiple homeworlds. Kethmer felt his carefully ordered universe crumbling around him. How many worlds? Over 3,000 so far, sir. And the number is growing. Jake's voice cut through the Admiral's panic. Admiral, this isn't a rebellion. It's an awakening. For 5,000 years, the Confederation has told species what they couldn't do, where they couldn't go, what they couldn't learn. Today, they're discovering what they can do when they work together. You're destroying everything, Kethmer whispered. No, Jake said gently. We're building everything. The Monument Network isn't just for communication, Admiral. It's for collaboration. Species are sharing their greatest discoveries, their most beautiful art, their deepest wisdom. The galaxy is remembering what it means to grow. On the Admiral's tactical display, red warning lights were appearing across star charts. Restricted zone worlds were breaking quarantine. Moderate threat species were exceeding their assigned parameters. The entire classification system was collapsing. This is chaos, Kethmer said desperately. This is freedom, Jake corrected. Admiral, the Confederation fleet is powerful. You could probably destroy our settlement here. You might even be able to crush a few other worlds before they organize their defenses. But you can't stop an idea whose time has come. Katie Brooks appeared beside Jake on the screen. Admiral, we'd like to show you something else. A message from Earth. The display shifted to show General Patricia Adams standing in what was clearly a military command center. Behind her, screens showed defensive positions around Earth that definitely had not been there during the initial Confederation survey. Admiral. Kethmer, Patricia said formally. I am General Patricia Adams, Commanding Officer of Earth Defense Force. We understand you've given humanity an ultimatum. I'm here to give you one in return. Kethmer's 4 eyes widened. Earth was classified. As a protected world, you have no military capability. Patricia smiled grimly. Admiral, you classified us based on what we showed you, not what we actually had. For the past 6 months, we've been preparing for this moment. Every communication satellite you saw is actually a weapons platform. Every weather monitoring station is a defensive installation. Every civilian cargo ship is a disguised warship. The display showed Earth's true defenses, orbital battle stations, planetary shields, and a fleet of ships that had been hiding in plain sight throughout the solar system. You have a choice, Admiral, Patricia continued. Withdraw your fleet and open negotiations for a new galactic order based on cooperation and freedom. Or find out exactly how dangerous a species becomes when you threaten everything they care about. Kethmer looked around his bridge at officers who were staring at their instruments in shock. The tactical displays showed that humanity had somehow hidden a significant military force while appearing completely harmless. It was the kind of deception that should have been impossible for a moderate threat species. Sir, his weapons officer reported we're detecting similar hidden defenses around 12 other worlds in this sector alone. And sir, long-range sensors are picking up massive fleets moving toward Confederation space from the restricted zone. The Admiral realized that everything he thought he knew about galactic civilization was wrong. The Confederation hadn't been maintaining peace. It had been maintaining its own power. The species they had relocated and contained hadn't been dangerous. They had been free. Captain Martinez, he said slowly, what exactly are you proposing? Jake's image returned to the screen. We're proposing that the galaxy grows up, Admiral. That species share knowledge instead of hoarding it. That civilizations cooperate instead of competing. That the future belongs to everyone, not just the Confederation Council. The Council will never accept this. Then the Council needs to change, Jake replied. Admiral, we're not asking the Confederation to surrender. We're asking it to evolve, to become what it always claimed to be, a force for galactic peace and prosperity. Dr. Ryan Clark appeared beside Jake. Admiral, the Monument Network contains 5,000 years of suppressed scientific knowledge, medical discoveries that could save billions of lives, agricultural techniques that could end hunger on 1,000 worlds, technologies that could revolutionize space travel and communication. Why would you share this with us? Kethmer asked suspiciously. Because that's what this is all about, Jake answered. Admiral, humans don't want to rule the galaxy. We want to help it flourish. We want every species to reach its full potential. We want the future to be something none of us can imagine alone, but all of us can build together. Katie Brooks stepped forward. Admiral, place your hand on your communication console. What? Trust us. Just place your hand on your console. Kethmer hesitated, then placed one of his 4 Han.